is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just practicing my evil laugh. 540-0580, Carl Rominger here. Okay, talking about evil laughs and grand conspiracies. Welcome to the NSA. Now, let's not blame Obama. Republicans have been complicit in this. Democrats have been complicit in this. Why have they been complicit? They've now created a beast they cannot control. They cannot ride. They cannot prevent it from eating them alive. NSA agents told to withhold target information from those in charge of oversight. Now, remember that we learned that they're making thousands of errors a year and thousands of violations a year according to their own internal information. What they also do, and this is where the real scandal is, because these things would not be considered violations. These would not be the things they're talking about. They intentionally make it harder under the FISA Amendment Act for the Department of Justice and the Office of Director of National Intelligence and the courts, that secret FISA court, to evaluate what they're doing. So here I've got it. Targeting rationale. The basic premise of this process is to memorialize why you, the analyst, have requested targeting. Now, this is targeting, by the way, of people who, they can't just generally target. And for a more detailed look at the individual or group, not just that person's communication, potentially anyone even remotely connected to them, okay? Anyone even remotely connected to them. While we do want our FAA overseers with the information, provide our FAA overseers with the information they need, we do not want to give them any extraneous information. Okay, sounds okay so far. Please follow the instructions carefully to place a targeting rationale in the target information comments field in the UTT and the selector comments in the field in Octave. Note there are additional instructions below concerning issues with Octave. This rationale can be no longer than one short sentence. Please see screen captures below for proper placement. Now, rationale. In other words, in order to look at your communications or anyone else's communications based on some rationale, it has to be in one short sentence only, because that's what's available for overview. So, okay, listen, in order for the Carlisle Police, the Derry Township Police, the York Regional Police, the Lancaster City Police to come into your house, if they came in with a one-page affidavit that contained one sentence on it, Bill Smith's house, crime may be occurring, the judge would laugh them out of court, okay? Because that is not constitutional muster to invade your privacy. But the NSA is able to use one short sentence. It goes on to say, your rationale must not contain information including probable cause-like information. Yeah, we wouldn't want to know why you wanted to look into the person, how you came to your analytic conclusions, any ragtime information, nobody knows what that means, classification, marking, or selector information. Below are some actual examples, okay? User is in direct contact with blank. User is a secretary for blank. User is in direct contact with the Venezuelan blank. User is a blank with the Chinese supplying sedan. User is a telecommunications engineer and system administrator. Well, here's what sounds legitimate. User is the head of Libya's delegation, blacked out. Let's see. Counterterrorism examples. User is in direct contact with Hezbollah. Okay. User is in direct contact with Taliban affiliate and weapons. User is blank Al-Qaeda associated web forums. User is in direct contact with close associate of Al-Qaeda. Working with other examples. User is an advisor to the Saudi Arabian blank. These email address is used by a PRC national who is an IT professional. Now here's some. They want you to use some. If you don't want to give away the names, Mohammed Bad Guy was on the buddy list of Al Qaeda blank. Selector was found on buddy list of Al Qaeda blank. And so, and they give examples of using fake names. And, of course, they're like Muhammad bad guy, no profiling there. But here's the real issue. In order for the FISA court, when Congress and the FISA court tell you and I that they are carefully monitoring what the NSA does, when you use one-sentence descriptions that are intentionally kept short and intentionally contain little or no information, and how many of these passed muster? Well, we know that there were 2,000 and some that didn't, were found to. But we know, and a lot of those turned out to be computer problems and technical glitches. But anyhow, my point is this. They can target you. They can target me. They can target anybody by using as short a sentence as possible, giving as little information as possible. And then not only can they target that person, but they can target anybody who's even remotely connected to that person, including listening to your phone calls and going through your emails. And I know somebody on Facebook is going to go, who cares? What's the big deal? I have nothing to hide. Oh, you have nothing to hide. How do you think it's possible to get high government officials to turn their votes? How do you think it's possible to get high government officials to turn their votes? How do you think it's possible that when someday they say, we have this apparatus in place, but now we're going to use it to catch people who smoke marijuana in the state of Pennsylvania? Or now we're going to use it to see who's been secretly complaining about Obamacare. Why, in fact, here's my new targeting phrase. User is known to frequent anti-Obamacare website. Okay, now they can target you and all your friends and listen to all your communications because that passes constitutional muster according to the U.S. government and the NSA and the secret FISA court. So you better care. You better be scared. You better be damn scared. People need to share this. And I put this on my Facebook page, and there's a great article. I put up the actual raw document, but I'm going to put up this great article right now, and I want you guys to share it. Here's my challenge. I want as many shares as possible on this. So I'm going to put please share, okay? Now read it and share it. I'll put read it too. Okay, you guys might follow instructions. So really want you to go there. Go to my Facebook page. Look at this article. It's right up on top. It's entitled, NSA Agent Told to Withhold Target Information from Those in Charge of Oversight. Get that spread out to as many people as possible. We need to let people know what's really going on here. A lot of people they're going to keep listening to the snow job that we're getting from our government, that, oh, it's no big deal, there's oversight. I mean, Dianne Feinstein seems to think the oversight's okay. When's the last time you agreed with Dianne Feinstein? Yeah, recently? On this one? All of our pro-government Republicans out there, you should be a little distrustful. See, because when the government is who you like it to be or it's doing what you want it to do, you have nothing to fear, right? But guess what? As way back as Nixon, a Republican, by the way, he was too tempted to use nefarious means to protect his political office. Absolute power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, they say. So we are building a surveillance state. We are building what the government needs to be your dictator. We are building what any president who wants to be king can use to be your dictator. We are building an apparatus and have built an apparatus, and our democratically elected congressmen and women have let us down. Our courts have let us down. And it's time to take back the government. They shouldn't have this, or if they have it, it needs to be open, and it needs to be obvious, and it needs true oversight. It is too dangerous of a thing to be buried secretly in the government. 540-0580, Carl Rominger here. When I get back, we can talk about the NSA, we can talk about spying, and we can talk about your legal questions. See you in a minute. I'm back, and I'm mad. 540-0580. Elizabeth, what do you have to say about the NSA?
Hello, sir. I wanted to say I thought that your last information on NSA was brilliant. And in thinking about the afternoon slots that's trying to be filled, the afternoon slot, I would really, I think after that information that you've given to us, you would have the best, most intelligent avenue to help listeners who are serious about wanting change in this country. You'll give us the tools and the inspiration and the knowledge of how to try and affect change. Now, I would miss you on Saturdays, but I'm wondering if through the week, maybe 2 days of those 5 days, you could do a show similar to Saturday.
I'll tell you what, if they gave me the 1 to 3 show, what I would do is I'd probably reserve Fridays as the, keep it legal moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously, if something's very important or requires a legal analysis throughout the week, we can employ it. Because it comes, quite frequently, law is the rules of society, right?
Right.
So it creeps into everything,
Exactly, and we're not the professionals. We don't have the tools that you have to help us and to help guide the listening audience.
The other thing I'm trying to do, and I'll tell you, I'm paying close attention, this Internet's amazing. Years ago, and this is where, Rush likes to talk about the low information voters or the low information public or whatever you want to call it. It's hard to creep into the collective conscience. And now we have the tools to do it, and I really like the way they've handled this Snowden material, which is don't dump it all at once. Don't let the government just brush it under the rug. Keep dribbing and drabbing it out there to show what's really going on. So, of course, and what's funny about the press and the people that put this out there, right? How predictable was our government? They said, oh, we're not doing anything wrong. It's no big deal. It's all subject to oversight. It's all blah, 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 blah. So don't worry about it. Trust us. So now they drab this out there, right, to show you that, well, don't really trust them. And one of the congressmen came out this morning on a news show and said, hey, we would have defunded it had we been told the truth about this stuff, but we weren't even told the truth during our hearings recently before we went out of session.
And it's not just the Snowden case.
No, it's the IRS. It's the IRS. Look what those guys are doing, politically targeting people, trying to make sure the campaign funds are tied up, or at least any advocacy group's ability to operate is tied up with direct political targeting. And we know that they directly politically attack people as well. Yes.
I'm going to write my email to afternoon at WHT580.com.
Yeah, that's the email that RJ set up, afternoons at WHP580.com, to say who you want to hear.
Yes. I thank you. I think your information is valuable, and this is what we need to be exposed to, and I appreciate your inspiration and encouragement and expertise.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very kind.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right, bye. 540-058. I'm almost not mad anymore. Paul, you're on the air. Paul.
Hey, how you doing, Carl?
Good.
Hey, I had a story for you. It's kind of out of state. I live here, but it's relevant. I learned a very valuable lesson, actually, legally, and I thought maybe I'd share it with you quick. I want to call it state Y. It's a southern state. I was down there in the construction business doing some work.
Mm-hmm.
Temporarily, I was down there. So my wife gets the brilliant idea one Sunday morning, let's leave this state and go to this other state and go to church. We did. And we get out of church, we're headed home, we're headed for the highway, and all of a sudden I noticed a state trooper following. And he followed me for a long time. All of a sudden the lights come on, and he pulls me into a gas station. He goes, you know why I pulled you over? I said, no. Well, this here. I saw this, and I knew he was lying to me. So I said, all right, okay. Yeah, well, I saw it. It was on my front windshield, so I knew he was behind me by 100 yards.
Right.
So I knew he didn't see it. So I knew he got behind me, ran my plates, found out what this was, and then he was doing that. So I said, okay, all right, I'll play it. So the guy said, all right, show up in such and such a court, be there, and get this whole thing squared away. So, all right, you got it, sir. And I did. I showed up in court. All of a sudden, I'm in the court waiting to be seen. I'm waiting for my turn, and I get called out. And the woman says, the following people, would you please come follow me? So I said, oh, I wonder what this is about. I went out. Would you be willing to sign this here? And I was like, sign what? Well, it's a statement. This is the auxiliary program that we offer here in this state. If you sign this, we drop one ticket in favor of the other, and then you'll be on your way. You don't have to worry about all this court stuff. We'll deal with it.
Right.
I said, okay. Well, stupid me, I didn't read it, did I? I just signed it. Well, here I am up here in Pennsylvania, and all of a sudden, I start getting collection notices. I call down there, said, all right, let's square this ticket away. All right, you want to pay that? Let's go ahead. I paid it. Thinking that's it. Well, then I get pulled over.
Right.
And by a local guy, it took him 20 minutes to come back. He's like, hey, how you doing? So you got a warrant. Oh, what'd you do? Did you kill somebody? about to find out. You better tell me. What did they want you for? What'd you do? And I kept my mouth shut. I knew what he was trying to do. I knew the answer to the question. Yeah, well, I'm going to call down there, see if they want you. Give me your cell number. That way, if they want you, I'll go ahead and grab you real quick and they can extradite you. Well, I knew they weren't going to. But so then I find out. So I called down there, and they said, well, how did you find out you had this other ticket? Did you get pulled over? I said, yeah. They said, oh, well, hey, lesson learned, right? Here's what we want. And it was a ton of money. I was like, are you kidding me? No. Well, you want to take care of it. That's what you need. So I learned an extremely valuable lesson. When you're out of state or vacationing, make sure you read what you sign and make sure you know exactly what you're dealing with in another state. Because, boy, it cost me big time. And I thought, man, maybe I'll share that story. Maybe someone else will run into that. And, lesson learned there. If anybody in your listening audience goes out of state for any length of time, be very careful because you could get hit real hard and not see it coming like I did.
Well, you know what the moral of the story is? Don't go to church.
Yeah. All right. See you.
Right, but yeah, I mean, really, you're no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, right. All right, Carl. See you later. Bye.
All right, bye. 540-0580. You got to get a moral out of every story. I'm not sure I always get the right moral out of the story, but I get a moral. Craig, you're on the air. Craig.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Carl. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
The question I have is I pretty much understand the laws as far as concealed carry and when you can draw a firearm, but the question I have is what about the handicapped or the elderly or the disabled that can't, say, fight someone off the way a normal person could? I mean, their standard can't be the same.
No, well, the standard is how you reasonably perceive the situation, and so I'll give you.
So, for example, if a handicapped or elderly person can't defend themselves and say somebody's trying to beat an old woman up with their fists and they could kill her,
yes,
she could draw a gun.
Her perception is different than ours, and what I mean by that is, okay, let's assume you weigh. I'm going to say you weigh 180 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you come walking at me with your fists up, and you're like, "Girl, I'm going to kick your ass," and I go, "Well, maybe, but maybe not," And we have a little tussle, okay? I may be hard-pressed to claim I needed to whip my gun out and shoot you at that exact moment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I may say, listen, I'm not really a fighter. I thought this guy could fight, and I might win that argument. But it would sure help if I was a 105-pound woman, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it would help even more if I were without the use of my legs. So I couldn't flee. I couldn't run. I wasn't sure what to do. I knew that I was vulnerable, and this person's threatening me. So it doesn't change the standard, but it's a factor in applying the standard. You got it?
I think so.
So just explain it again like this. If you're paralyzed from the waist down, then your perception of safety would be different than someone who is not. And just as your perception of safety may be different if you're an Olympic runner versus a 400-pound guy who's caught dead on his heels.
So someone who's frail and couldn't fight off a child would be a lot.
That goes into their. So we would say that subjectively, right? They're much more likely to conclude that they need to use deadly force. Then the only question is, what person under that subjective situation, what an objective person would do under that subjective perception. So again, you articulate your handicap, or you're aware of your handicap, or disability, I guess is the word I'm supposed to use in 2013. Then those things would be a factor in determining whether you were reasonable under the circumstance. So if you said, well, I was wheelchair bound and there was nobody there to push me, and the guy was coming at me and was going to attack me, that would all fall into your gambit of what you were thinking about.
So in a sense, the disabled have the same standard. They just have to prove that they were in fear of their life.
Well, they have the same standard. It's the same standard, but it's a factor because we look at the totality of the circumstance. So let me give it to you this way. You're an able-bodied guy, right?
Okay.
And I catch you and knock you out, and when you come to, I've got a rope tied to your foot and the other end of the rope tied to a 500-pound block, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know, for whatever reason, because I'm not a good criminal, I haven't gotten all your weapons off of you, right? Now,
okay.
When I come in to beat you up in front of my henchmen because I've got you tied to the rock, you're going to be more inclined to believe you need to use deadly force, right? Because you have some more disability. You're tied up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just get away. You can't use your, full fighting effect. So it goes into your subjective understanding of your fear of imminent bodily harm. So it's just more plausible that a person who has disabilities would need to rely on a mechanical contraption, and it's a gun, to defend themselves, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't change the standard, but you sort of come into the standard with a leg up, so to speak.
But it does leave it up to the interpretation of the district attorney and or jury.
Absolutely. But let me explain. Anytime I have a disabled person as my self-defense defendant, I'd always feel better going into trial, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I can see it right now. DA claims man in wheelchair should have spun and run.
Okay. I think you've given a very good explanation, Carl.
All right. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
540-0580. Carl Rominger here. When we get back, we'll talk to Joe. Okay, that big windbag, Dianne Feinstein, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Democrat, California, chairwoman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Okay, she's a lackey. She's a lackey for the intelligence arm of this totalitarian regime. Backed up the administration on its claim, releasing a lengthy statement on Friday afternoon claiming that most of the compliance problems at the NSA happen when the agency inadvertently collects records. It says the majority of these compliance incidents are therefore unintentional and do not involve any inappropriate surveillance of America. But she's not addressing what I told you about a minute ago. She's not addressing it, which is that they intentionally and in full compliance with what they believe the law to be, use a short sentence to justify listening to your phone calls, tracking your whereabouts, or anybody connected to anybody that they want to target. So, there you go. The compliance isn't the real issue. That's the sidestep. The bigger reveal, the bigger cherry in this sundae of the Snowden leak most recently is that the NSA can target you and anybody you're remotely connected to, or target you because you're remotely connected to somebody you don't even know. So, when your idiot friend sends you an email and it's got 300 names on it because he forwarded you a joke, and then you forward that on to somebody else and somebody else? Wonder the NSA's theory, because you're now connected to somebody in that email chain, and one of those people has become a target. They may use one sentence. Target user is a friend of, whatever, or user surfed onto a suspect website, whatever they want to put. They don't have to put anything. It's a short sentence to justify it. That's in compliance. That's considered legal and constitutional. So when Dianne Feinstein, big windbag that she is, says, hey, who cares, no big deal, they're in compliance. They're in compliance with crap. That's what they're in compliance with. Joe, you're on WHP 580. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Carl.
What's the question?
Hey, I called you probably a couple months ago, and I was in the process of adopting our 6-year-old.
Yes.
And throughout this process, we had glowing things, and the father's rights were terminated, and we had glowing recommendations from the court liaison and all these things. And just recently, she accused me to my wife of touching her.
Okay, I know she's thing we'll talk about on the radio, but go ahead.
Yeah, but so she said CYA and is involved, and so now they are taking just a really long time, and we have just. So my question was, do I need to get a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay.
You could go to jail for this if even if it's a false report. Okay.
Exactly.
So get a lawyer. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Don't talk anymore about that stuff on the radio. You crazy, man? Get a lawyer. Eric, you want to talk about the NSA and their secret spy program? Or are you okay with it?
Oh, first of all, let me tell you, I served in the U.S. Navy. I was a cryptologic technician.
Uh-huh.
And then we worked for the NSA. Okay? And our job was to intercept all the communications from international terrorists and embassies and everything. We did not spy on American citizens.
You did not spy on American citizens.
Right, we did not.
You're saying the NSA does not?
No.
Have you read the news? Do you read the news? Do you read the news? It says that they spy on American citizens. It's what they've admitted. It's in the documents.
First of all, let me tell you this, okay? That the only reason they would do that, okay, would be if they were a terrorist.
Oh my God! You all right? Go get on Facebook, Eric. Okay.
Okay.
Go read the article I put up. Here's what they say: you can target anybody who is even remotely connected to somebody who you can use less than one sentence to describe a reason why you want to target that person. Meaning that if somebody is targeted, whether they're a terrorist or not, a person 100 skips away can have their emails read and their phone calls listened to on that mere basis. That is spying on Americans.
Okay. Now, if you just let me talk for 1 second.
Go ahead.
Please.
The floor is yours.
We are too busy spying on the other countries, okay, to leave that up to the CIA, okay, or some other department.
Now, Eric, I like your theory, okay, but I thought the IRS was too busy collecting taxes to target political groups.
Okay.
I thought that's what they did. They don't target political groups. There's no political influence here. This is just a big false allegation made up by the Republicans. Isn't that the line that we heard? Do you think that the IRS is abusing its power, or you think they're okay too?
I'm just telling you, I work for the NSA.
What do you think about the IRS? Tell me yes or no. Are they abusing their power with the Tea Party groups?
All I know is what I did. And my
So you don't think the IRS is targeting anybody either? You think our government... You're not afraid of the government at all, are you, Eric?
I am a fan of... I love America.
You have no fear of the government, do you?
And I like you. That's why I'm calling this show.
You have no fear of the government, right?
I really don't, because I'm not doing anything wrong, so I have no fear of the government.
What if doing anything wrong is just saying something bad about Obamacare? What if that becomes the new wrong?
Well, then...
You know what? A lot of Jews said that in the 30s, late 20s, early 30s. You know, I don't have a huge trouble with the new...
Okay, my last name is Bloom, and I am a Jew.
Right. A lot of Jews said they didn't have a problem with the German government when it first came in. And then it sort of turned against them. But they gave it the power. The people seceded the power to the German government, right?
Right.
And then they rounded all the Jews up and killed them.
Right.
In this country, we rounded the Japanese up and stuck them in a camp somewhere ourselves.
Okay, but we didn't kill them.
Okay, we didn't kill them. We didn't get that far, right? Imagine if the Japanese war had gone on and we didn't get the nuclear weapons. Maybe it wouldn't have turned out so good for the Japanese in the internment camps. We did steal all their property, though. Most of them didn't get their property back after the war, by the way.
Right. I'm just saying that right now, as long as you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to worry about the NSA spying on you, or, you know, sure, you got to pay your taxes with the IRS. I mean, everybody.
Now, what about them targeting? What about them targeting political groups?
Well, I don't agree with that.
Okay, but it happened. We know it happened. It's coming out right now. So your belief that the NSA will never do anything wrong with this data is only as good as the people who are in charge, and we know that the people in charge will misuse the IRS. So you're saying to me they'll never misuse the NSA?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when I was there, they didn't do it.
Well, you didn't. You know, they have hundreds of thousands of. What, they have 100,000 employees or something like that.
Probably. You know, they got all these.
Okay, so they didn't assign you to snoop
nowadays.
on John Roberts. They didn't have you snoop on John Roberts. Somebody else did it. Right? I love you, Eric. I do. I'm just.
I love you too. That's why I called in your show. I mean, you know, I'm trying to have a coherent, you know, discussion with you. I'm just saying that as long as you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to fear. But you're saying you got to fear the government.
You have to fear the government because once the power is in place, your definition of wrong may not always be the government's definition of wrong. And when it changes, that's when they throw you in the oven, my friend.
Oh, well, good luck with throwing me in the oven.
Well, you know what? You, in theory, it should have been so easy. It should have never happened, right? But guess what? All the German people turned a blind eye. The government used propaganda, just as our government does.
Right.
Just remember, your government is capable of atrocity. I don't care what the government is. Any government is capable of atrocity. And knowing that, and knowing that they're capable of lying to you, and knowing that presidents have in the past misused their power. Nixon comes to mind. Clinton abused his power, too, mainly just to get a little action. But nonetheless, given all the presidential abuses we're aware of, given the fact that we have all these revelations right now, I just think you should be damn scared of the government. But if you're not, you're not. That's okay.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not scared of it because I got power. And, you're saying, like, well, we reinstate slavery, for instance. That's never going to happen.
Oh, not the old kind of slavery, but the new kind of slavery. The welfare state, well on the way.
Well, we're already there.
All right, Eric, I got to take some more calls.
All right. Well, nice talking to you.
All right, you too. Take care. Rose, what do you have to say?
Hi, Attorney. I am so pleased that you're angry. It's far worse than what we hear in the news. Why do you think people were forced to get digital TV? When people take apart their digital TV, their DVRs, even the new computer screens, the monitor screens, they find cameras in there. And I just found this morning about Obama's friendship with, not only friendship, but his real father, which there's a book about. His real father was Frank Marshall Davis. His whole family, his mother and so forth, were communists. His advisor, so-called advisor, is Valerie Jarrett. Obama's father, Frank Marshall Davis, and his mentor, he admits, and her grandfather were very close chums in the Communist Party in Chicago. And I just found this morning online about his to do with at Occidental College and his meeting of various people along with Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn and their plans for the communist takeover. In his own words, people are finding and putting online Obama's own words of his want for a communist revolution in this country.
Well, let me stop you, and I'll just talk about the one thing you brought up. I mean, there's there's news articles back from March of 2012, or all the way back a year ago. The CIA wants to spy on you through your TV. Agency director says it will transform surveillance.
That's right.
And that all these connected devices. Now, a speaker is really just a microphone in reverse, right?
Yes, but people are had taken apart their DVRs, their new TVs, their digital TVs, their that little box to accommodate the old TVs, and even the computer screens, and they're finding cameras in part of these the new digital equipment. And they're not only listening, they're watching and recording what you're doing. And as I said, Obama's Obama's association with the Communist Party goes back to before he was born. I mean, his whole life has been that. I've been researching him for 5 years, and we'll try to call in with information. He is very dangerous, and what they have planned is very dangerous. And this former guy that had called, this former man, we appreciate his service to our country, but he has blinders on.
Well, what happens is, listen, he doesn't want to believe, I'm sure, I hate to equate it this way, right? But I'm sure there are lots of German military people who, after the war, would have said with a straight face, hey, I had nothing to do with the concentration camps, nothing. No, I just did my job and guarded a supply depot on the Eastern Front. But indirectly, just like a 2x4 that builds a house, you're all part of the apparatus.
Right. And did you know that we brought over thousands of the same technicians and doctors and scientists that were in the concentration camps?
Yeah, we can talk about
over here. Yeah.
I got to go, but we can talk. Okay. I got to go to break. We can talk about this another day. Feel free to call in anytime. 540-0580. Oh boy! Okay, quickly. If you need to liquidate an estate or business, I recommend you call RJ Gold Auctions. He can buy outright or sell your items at auction. RJ Gold can be reached at 645-0061. He purchases outright items such as medals, pins, patches, tokens, awards, badges, and most historical collectibles. He can pay you right away. RJ Gold, 645-0061. He's on 6th Street in Harrisburg. Plan to attend RJ's awesome auction Sunday, August 25th, 1 p.m. at the American Legion in Harrisburg. Again, not a week from Sunday, so it'll be August 25th, 1 p.m. I want to see you guys at the American Legion in Harrisburg. Be sure and tell them Carl sent you. PA License Auctioneer AU005798. And again, his number 645-0061. Give him a call right now if you have something you want to sell. Don't forget to go to Big Mike's Beer Outlet in Annville and pick up some beer. But if you want to get some beer closer to Harrisburg, then swing into Harrisburg Beer and Cigars because they have a big, and you need to go get a ticket for it. They have a big barbecue coming up August 31st at 2 p.m. Check out their humidor and be sure again and tell them Carl sent you. They'll look at you kind of crazy, but they'll know what you mean. Jay, you're on the WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. What's going on?
Yeah, Carl J. Hey, listen, I wish you'd stick to the law on Saturday. You get into this politics and you get some of these feeble-minded folks. No, the last two callers, I mean, there's got to be you got the one lady who I thought she was going to start talking about Alger Hiss and the communists, and I figured she was going to get into the protocol of the Elders of Zion, which I've had happen with older folks sometimes. But, I don't think she'd have a problem if it wasn't Obama. She seems to be, this last few years with Obama and Obama and Obama. And the other guy is kind of the opposite. My point, and I think you would agree, is that this is just government. And now, the kind of things that go on, whether it's maybe Obama in the White House or somebody else.
I quoted an article. The guy's name is Mark Stein, okay? And he said a couple months back, I quoted Tocqueville's prescient words at almost 2 centuries ago. This is what he said. Although absolute monarchy theoretically clothed kings with a power almost without limits, in practice, the details of social life and of individual existence ordinarily escaped his control. In other words, the king couldn't do it even if he wanted to. What would happen, Tocqueville wondered, if administrative capability were to evolve to bring the details of social life and of individual existence within His Majesty's oversight? That world is now upon us. Today, the king concedes he most certainly can do it, but assures us not to worry that he doesn't really want to.
Well, the king doesn't really control things.
But what he was talking about is, in the old days, the king had absolute power, but you really didn't have the administrative power to control the whole realm simultaneously.
Well,
now, if we have constant oversight over you, and we literally can listen to your communications whenever we want, and see, everybody's not understanding that eventually computer algorithms are going to be what are monitoring you.
I agree with you. I'm just telling you that I think a change in administration, whether it's beneficial.
No, it's not the administration. No, and that's why I said don't blame the Democrats. Don't blame the I blame our duly elected idiots for letting this beast be created with no oversight.
And I blame us for allowing.
For duly electing the idiots.
Well, no, because we're going to elect idiots. I've gotten to the point where I don't know that we can change things peacefully, and I don't want to do it any other way. I don't want to be Egypt. But how do you look at the state legislature? They set their own salary, they set their own rules, and there's no way to even override that by referendum unless they say so.
Yeah, welcome to Pennsylvania, no referendum.
But my point, I guess, when you get into politics, you get the people that call and they think all this has happened in the last 5 years, and it's all tied into one guy or one philosophy, and it may have, like the last lady. That's what got me calling. She's worried about the communists and Bernard and Dorn from the 60s and 70s and all that kind of stuff, and said something about Obama's been planning this since before he was born. That's what she said. So I can't, but I agree with you that you have to be careful. I just kind of wish we the politics.
Well, I know, but I wanted to talk about the NSA because I want to get the word out. I don't want this administration whitewashing this violation of the Constitution.
Well, I agree with you, but I think what you will find is in the future, unless something does change, and I don't necessarily mean it's going to be Republican or Democrat, that unless people really do something, what they can do, I don't know, except start throwing people out of office. Just say, we're going to throw everybody out of office. We're going to vote for some other guys.
Yeah, and watch what happens when they get to Washington and the bureaucracy gets a hold of them.
Right, it's not going to change anything. I wish I had an answer. I hope you come up with one.
I don't have one, Jay, and I never will. I'm just going to gripe about it, like guys at the coffee shop.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. 540-0580. Mike, you're on the WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. What's going on, Mike?
Man, Jay, you stole all my time. Is there any kind of lawsuit I can bring against Jay? What's up, Jay? What's going on?
Not much. I'm mad. I'm mad at the NSA. I'm mad at the IRS. I'm mad at the government. It's all being controlled to destroy the little guy.
Hey, how much time do I have?
Better shoot fast.
Well, let me play a little game with you. Let's just play along with this. Hey, everybody, this is Satan, and I want to thank all of the wonderful parents out there for helping to create this mess. You see, when you had those kids and they were real young and you didn't want to deal with them because they were yelling and moaning and crying, you put them in front of their very first God, which was the TV. And if that wasn't bad enough, in other words, good for me, but bad for you and society, then I used the great tool of putting them into the public school system, teaching them all kinds of things that you a lot of times don't even know about. And then I've also infiltrated that little mind of theirs with all of that wonderful garbage music and all those wonderful friends that they hang out with. Hey, just in a couple of generations, you will see the downfall of your nation. What do you think of that, Carl?
Wow. Good, huh? I mean, it's an interesting point.
Absolutely.
And just talking about, see, I'm not necessarily anti-public school, but I think your good point was this. But do you really know what your kids are learning at school, and are you discussing it at home, and what parts of it make sense and don't make sense?
Listen, Carl, here's the bottom line. Parents have delegated too much authority to the sexually immoral teachers.
Got to go, Mike, but we got it.
Well, I'm going to call you.
I got to go. All right. So anyhow, if you need to get hold of me throughout the week, RomingerLaw.com, or the law office number if you need a lawyer during the week is 241-6070. That's 241-6070. If you need to call a lawyer, Carl Rominger here throughout the Mid-State, 241-6070. Go to RomingerLaw.com and check out our NSA material on Facebook, please.